Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn, and this is Inside Indy. Imagine anyone having to fight cancer. Imagine being a mom who has a son who has cancer, a brain tumor. And we have such a mom here in the studio who's going to tell us about her son, her journey, and her story. And she is Tracy Blackmore. And you are the mom of Brooks Blackmore.
Yes.
And you're also the lead organizer for the Be Brooks Brave and Shave event for the St. Baldrick's Foundation.
That's
Welcome
right.
to Inside Indy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Wow, when I read your story, it's really like fascinating. I hurt even to see anybody to have to go through this, and especially a mom. So tell us about what's going on with you and with your son.
So our son Brooks, on June 13th of 2015, was unexpectedly diagnosed with 2 inoperable stage 4 brain tumors. They're often referred to GBMs. It's one of the worst brain tumors that you can get. He was perfectly healthy. Everything was fine, and this came out of the blue. So after doing MRIs and everything, they told us there is no cure. There's nothing we can do to save your son. The most we can do is prolong his life. So he did radiation and chemo, and he fought hard for 11 months. But then another tumor was found in his cervical spine. And on May 21st of 2016, he passed away at the age of 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So
how old was he again?
He was 6 years old when he passed away,
right.
and 5 when he was diagnosed. Yeah.
Can we, I want to talk, and I see you tearing up.
Yeah.
So I know
I'm
even
trying
now,
not to get too emotional, but yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. When you get that kind of news, I mean, how do you handle that? How did you make it even thus far?
Honestly, hope and faith in the power above, with God's help. I never gave up hope during this whole battle. Even when they told us the most he could live is 2 years, you just don't hear that as a parent. You fight for your child.
Right.
And we knew we had to do anything we could to try to save his life. But the reality of it is that we're not getting enough funding from the government for childhood cancer research. I had no idea of this until I got thrust into this world, that less than 4% of the government's funding for cancer research goes to our children, our future. Only less than 4%. So that's why, after being through everything I've done, now it's my opportunity to fight for other people's children, to fight for my other children I still have, and raise money, and again, never give up hope, a hope for a cure, because we didn't have that. We didn't have hope for a cure because there is none.
So why only 4% of government funding?
Good question. There's a lot of controversy about that, so I'm not as knowledgeable, on that. But basically, a lot of it is that it's harder to do a lot of, experiments in trials with children. You usually do it with adults first, and then those treatments trickle down to the children. So we have had very little new drugs or anything in the past 30 years for children. So yeah, it's a whole new world that I knew nothing about until now.
Okay.
Yeah.
The kind of cancer he had, again, was called?
So the technical term is anaplastic astrocytoma. That is a high-grade brain tumor. It's often referred to as a GBM, and that's actually what Senator McCain has. It's usually found in older men. It unfortunately, like I said, is one of the worst brain tumors you can get. His was inoperable, so you could not even operate to remove part of it to then do the radiation and chemo or anything. So it was devastating, completely out of the blue.
And I'm almost speechless. I have a lot of questions, but I'm just like dumbfounded. I can't imagine what that's like. And so they have no clue as to where it comes from. I think that's the frustrating thing about, because I think sometimes if you know where it comes from, we can get to the bottom with the cure, no?
I agree with you, absolutely. We did some genetic testing on the tumor. They said it is not genetic. The chances of my other children getting it would be like, it should not happen. But again, the chances of Brooks getting this shouldn't have happened. Right. So that is why, you know, there are foundations out there, like we're working with St. Baldrick's, who are trying to figure out why this is happening, and then also finding the cures and better treatments to help these children. Not only the ones with brain, you know, tumors, but all types of cancers. Right. Childhood cancer is not rare, and that's what I didn't realize until we got into this. It's not rare.
Now, how prevalent is it?
This is an amazing statistic. Every 2 minutes worldwide, a child gets diagnosed with cancer. Wow. Every 2 minutes. It's just amazing. That's and then scary. Out of those people who, children who get diagnosed in the United States, 1 out of 5 pass away. And Brooks was one of those 5 that got diagnosed that passed away.
How was he through all of that? And he was quite young. Mm-hmm. Did he understand what was going on?
You know, we wanted to be upfront and honest with him, but yet protect him too, because he was so young. He had no idea, that, you know, that his life would be cut short. He had no idea. But he was amazing, and that's where we've kind of this whole, during the fight, we'd say, be brave, Brooks, you know, and he was so brave. He never complained. He did what he had to do. He had trust in us, trust in the doctors, and he was just amazing. And since he has passed, we now encourage people to be Brooks brave. Mm. So to be bigger than brave, be Brooks brave, and do those hard things, you know, and for the parents to enjoy every minute, you know, and not let that pass you by. Mm-hmm. And then he's encouraged me and inspired me now to be Brooks brave by helping all of our children and help find a cure through the St. Baldrick's Foundation.
Right. And at the time when he was diagnosed, you said like he was normal, everything was fine. So how did you find out? What surfaced to give you the clue? And again, I want to help other people who are watching. Yeah. Because again, most of us think we're normal until something surfaces. Absolutely.
He was a little athlete, a little just all-American little boy, so cute, funny, sassy, stubborn. And what we started to notice is that his speech was a little off. It sounded more nasally, is how I can describe it. Having a harder time coming up with his words. And this all happened within 7 to 10 days, this much. So his speech was different. His left eye was starting to turn in slightly. His coordination wasn't as good. I'm actually a pediatric physical therapist, so I really have an eye on that physical part, and he just could barely kick a ball or swing a bat anymore. So it was just something was off. And then on a Saturday, he said, "Oh, Mom, my head really hurts." And he's like, "And do you hear that? Do you hear that noise?" And so it was at that point, my husband and I knew that we had to take him to the ER. Wow. And that's when we found out the devastating news. Okay. Yeah.
What advice would you give other families out there who are dealing with what you're dealing with, what you dealt with, or even if it's not a child, sometimes it's a relative or a spouse who has been diagnosed with cancer, and how to cope with that and fight and have hope? What would you say?
I mean, that is a great question. You know, I still struggle with some of that every day, but looking back, I think I had that faith and I had that hope that no matter what happened, it would be okay. That's hard to say, knowing that, you know, you could lose your child, but you just have to live in the moment, enjoy every single moment that you can with that person who is diagnosed. You also have to fight for them. You have to be their advocate. You know, there were times where I was told one thing, and I, you know, knew in my heart and my gut, my mom gut, that I had to do something else. So I fought for him. We got second opinions, traveled, you know, across the country, tried, you know, anything we could to save his life. Just trusting my gut and trusting, you know, my faith and knowing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have an event coming up.
Yes.
Right. That is all a part of this effort that you're doing to help other families, other children. Tell us about that.
So I had no idea, like I mentioned before, how underfunded childhood cancer research is. And what has to be done is that we have to bridge that gap. And so there are private funders of childhood cancer research out there, and the St. Baldrick's Foundation is one of those. St. Baldrick's Foundation, a lot of people don't know about it unless you are in the cancer world, but they are not a church and they are not affiliated with a hospital. They are the largest non-government private funder of childhood cancer research in the world. So they are amazing, an organization that they raise money mainly through volunteer-based to fund childhood cancer research through grants. So I got involved with them shortly after Brooks passed away, and we created this thing called the B. Brooks Brave Hero Fund, and so we have raised over $100,000 since September of 2016, and we are always looking for ways to raise that money. And one of the ways that St. Baldrick's does it is through head shaving events. Oh. It sounds crazy, I know. So what it is we encourage people to shave their heads because they have a choice. These children don't have a choice, so you have a choice to raise money, shave your head, support those children with cancer so they don't feel so alone. At the same time, you are funding childhood cancer research. So we are holding our first ever B. Brooks Brave and Shave event for St. Baldrick's on May 19th. Okay. And it's actually going to be at the Grand Park Event Center, which is a huge sports complex in Westfield. And we are so excited. We have about 25 people signed up to shave so far.
They're going to shave their heads?
Yes,
okay.
Shave their heads. And some women too. Some women, it's amazing.
Well, they are brave, I'll tell you. So the goal is if I shave my head, then you're going to donate to me because I shaved my head. If I shave my head, you're going to give me a lot of money.
Absolutely. That's the goal. Yeah.
We're almost out of time. How can people sign up for that?
So they can go to stbaldricks.org. They can search for Brooks Blackmore, and then that event page would go up. Or we have we are always posting on Facebook on the Be Brave Brooks Facebook page. Okay. And yeah, so we would love for people to come out and support us and help take action and help save a child's life.
Okay, so we have the information on the screen, and I want to give you a chance to say hi to your kids.
Oh yes.
So, and they are?
Ellery and Rory. I have twins who are 4.5.
Oh, bless their hearts.
So I love you.
Right. Well, Tracy Blackmore, thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
For joining us on Inside Indy and sharing your story.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be back here on Inside Indy with more after this.
They call us the crazy head shaving people because we're crazy enough to think that this head shaving thing can find cures for childhood cancers. In 2000, it started with a bet. 3 guys challenge each other to shave their heads and raise $17,000 for childhood cancer research on the 17th of March. In one night, they raised over $100,000, and the rest is history. Every single day, children are diagnosed with cancer. Men, women, sons, and daughters brave the shave and raise money to find cures for these kids. We need you. Join the thousands of people courageous enough to go bald and change the world. Are you ready to brave the shave?
And we're back here on Inside Indy, and we're going to talk about having your credit card stolen, or how not to have your credit card stolen or your debit card. And I've had that happen. It wasn't actually stolen. I dropped it, and then somebody used it. And here to help us avoid those scenarios is Sherry Jacobson. Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
She is Fraud Loss Prevention Manager at Forum Credit Union. And your headquarters is what?
In Fishers.
In Fishers, near IKEA. Which,
correct.
Yeah, so I get to see both of you when I go up that way. I love it. I love it. Wow. You know, it's a scary world out there.
It is.
And oftentimes people, whether it's their credit cards, their identity is being compromised. So tell us about the state of credit card security out there in the world.
Well, Credit card fraud and debit card fraud happen every day.
Every day.
Every day. And you can't always prevent it, but you can put some obstacles in place to make it tougher for someone to get your debit card or credit card numbers.
Okay.
One thing that I tell people is like, treat your debit card and credit cards like you do your cash. You know, keep it in a secure place. Don't leave it lying around. Don't leave it in a friend's car, or just leave it where somebody can just pick it up.
Okay. So what are the most common forms of theft? Is it somebody picking up? How is it happening to us?
It can happen in a variety of ways. So theft is the most common way for your debit card, credit card fraud. And it can be as simple or as little as low-tech dumpster diving, because people don't shred their trash and their information is left on paper, or it also could be as high-tech as somebody doing a computer hack. Perhaps you might have a clerk or a waiter that's being dishonest, and they take a picture of your card number, and they might use the card to buy something online, buy items online, or if someone calls you and say, hey, you've won a free trip, but all you have to do is give your debit card number to secure the place, or if you sign up for a free trial and it's really not a free trial. So before you know it, there will be charges just racking up on your account.
Okay. And then I would take it, some people like me, I lost it. I just dropped it at the gas station.
If you lose your card, I mean, that happens, people drop it, but the minute you notice that it's gone or lost, you should call your financial institution so that you can get a stop on your card immediately.
Okay.
And a lot of people just think, oh, I lost it. They don't think to call right away, but that's the first thing you really should do.
Until they check their account, and maybe that person has used the card. Now, with a debit card, you typically have to have a PIN number. So how are those people, say, if they found it lying around wherever?
You can use it with a PIN number, or you can swipe it like a credit card. But one thing that I highly recommend, that you do not write your PIN number on your card or anywhere in your purse or your wallet. That's just try to make it an easy PIN number that you can remember, and do not make it your birth date.
Okay. So, you know, some of the things you mentioned, the dumpster diving, what in the world? Tell me about how that happens. And is this from my curb, or where are they getting the trash?
It could be from your own trash can. It could be from a business, you know, not shredding papers properly with your information on it. But a lot of people at home, you know, I think that they're just trusting and don't think it's going to happen to them, so they might not shred anything. They might rip it in half or something and just think that's good enough. But, you know, people can tape things together and get that information. One of the best things that I say for if you lose your card, or something like that happens, you lose your card or it gets stolen, it's a good idea to have in a secure place phone numbers, a list of all your card numbers, what their expiration dates are, what phone numbers that you would call to report fraud. And you would want to keep this list in a secure place and have that available to you. So if that happens, you can, you know, jump into action quickly.
Okay. Good point. But in terms of the, so there are people who actually go through neighborhoods and they're just picking up trash. So is that something to watch for in general? Just you see somebody weird going through trash?
A lot of people, you know, have neighborhood watches, and if you see something, you know, strange in your neighborhood, or if you see someone, you know, checking mailboxes, they, you know, still mail, they could get your card and activate your card. So yeah, just keeping your eyes open and aware of what's happening around in your neighborhood and calling the authorities to report it.
Okay, you mentioned computer hack. Now, how does that happen? How do our
computer hacking? I'm not sure how they do it. The smart, high-tech, computer-savvy people, they can hack computers. You know, we've heard a lot of like merchant compromises, and you know, they're not keeping their system maybe up to date, or they're storing too much information too long, and that's how that happens, and that's how hundreds of card numbers get out there.
Now, this one you mentioned earlier that I have thought about, and it's never happened, fortunately, but you have a dishonest waiter or clerk or someone who's handling your credit card, how would you prevent something from happening? In that case, so many of us, we eat out all the time at restaurants. And
That's a little more tricky, or it could be a little harder. But you know, I always try to keep a card on an eye on my card once it has left my hand. You know, I try to watch the waiter go back to his little station if he's, you know, swiping it, or you know, now a lot of waiters, you know, can do it at your table or anything like that. But just try to keep an eye on your card and make sure that you get it back in your hand before you leave. But that could be a little tricky. So the best thing to do is just to always keep your eye on your account. And one of the best things to do that is to set up alerts on your account. Through your financial institution, you can set up all kinds of alerts. Like if I spend my card for more than $50, I'll get a text alert. If I do an ATM transaction, I can get a text alert. So, you know, you can put those thresholds how you want them on your card, but those are really, really good things to do.
Okay. You know, I was thinking about some years ago, one time I remember getting ripped off. This is many, many years ago. I was at a convention, and I was buying something, and I think it was $50. And I found out later that when I looked at my credit card bill, because apparently at that time I didn't get a receipt, they put $500 on my card. So and they basically were just, I think it was deliberate. They were running a scam at this particular convention. Yeah.
So and you want to make sure you would get a receipt and hold on to your receipts until it appears on your credit card statement. Once it appears on your credit card statement, you see that, yes, this is my transaction, and you've reconciled your account, it's best to just shred those receipts and those statements once you no longer need them. But another thing that you can do to keep up on your, you know, what's happening in your account, make sure you reconcile your bank statements and your credit card statements.
Okay. Now, what about all of the ATM machines? We go to the gas station we run our cards there, whether it's inside the gas station at the counter. Even at Walmart, you know, now you can go be your own cashier and run it through. Is there any reason to be concerned in those scenarios?
EMV chip cards now. So if you don't have your card converted to the EMV chip, I would suggest that you would get that done, because the chip adds an extra layer of protection to your card, because on the regular MagStripe card, the information is embedded in there and it stays. So that's the same information over and over and over in your card. But when you use the chip card, the information changes with every transaction, so it's a safer card. Although, you know, I'm not saying that there's not going to be fraud on that card. It's safer and it's harder to get fraud on a card like that.
So they talk about you mentioned the ATM skimmers and some background material you gave me. So what are those? And
since the chip card has come out, a lot of fraudsters have going to skimming on, and it's gas stations and ATMs. They're the last to be compliant with upgrading their equipment. So they put on skimmers and people come up and use it, and that's how they're getting the information. They might come back and remove the skimmer, or they might be sitting close to you with a computer taking the information as you're using it. So
wouldn't it just be easier to get a job? That's a lot of trouble to try to get some information.
It is.
That would drive me crazy.
It's crazy. You're right. It's out there crazy. But if the merchants are, you know, really like trying to watch their equipment, but sometimes they go to the furthest, you know, gas pump away, or it's a ATM machine that's not at a bank, it's a standalone, that lighting is not very well or anything like that. But if people notice anything weird about the machine, the ATM, or something's kind of not on there secure, or you see like an extra something sticky on there, you know, you don't use it and report it to the authorities right away.
Wow. Okay. Got to be on your toes and keep your eyes open. That's for sure. So, so any other tips you want to give people out there, things we should know?
Well, if you do notice fraud on your card, report it to your financial institution immediately. Don't let it go a couple of days or ever, you know, you want to call right away to prevent reoccurring the fraud keep happening day after day. So the fraudsters will use that card until they can't use it anymore. So reporting it right away is best.
Okay. Smash and grab.
Smash and grab is a real problem. There's a group called the Felony Lane Gang that's around all over the United States, and they are in Indiana, and they're in Fishers, and they're everywhere. But what happens is moms that are in a hurry wanting to they leave their purse in the car while they take their child into the daycare, and so there's people watching. If you don't take your purse in, they're going to your car and smash out the window, grab your purse, and off they go. And they don't care how many people is around, because they do it that fast. So, like going to your fitness club or watching your kids play baseball or a sporting event, leaving your purse in the car is, no, please don't do that, because the smash and grabs are like happening daily.
Okay. And I would think in a lot of those scenarios, they don't even have to smash because they left the door unlocked because they just were running in for a few seconds.
So then they got your credit card, your driver's license, checks.
They know where you live. Scary. Okay. So Sherry, tell us where people can go online or how they reach you if they have more questions about fraud, loss, and prevention.
They can go online at forumscu.com, and there is a link on there to the fraud department. You can just select that, send us an email. You can call our customer service department. There's chatting online. Anything after hours like that can help.
Okay, Sherry Jacobson, Fraud Loss Prevention Manager at Forum Credit Union in Fishers. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Adios.